Sup team, welcome to the video. In today's video, I actually just want to go over some breathing techniques that I have been learning myself, kind of relearning if you will, that I have found to be extremely helpful with compound movements, especially movement patterns where you are hip hinging, whenever you're squatting, doing any type of deadlift variation. If you are losing stability in your trunk and you are finding that your lower back is often sore after these types of movement patterns, then some of these breathing techniques that I'm about to show you, some different exercises and core exercises as well, can be extremely beneficial for you. I'm not an expert in this area, just some things that I have picked up and learned for myself, because as you guys know, I have been dealing with some back pain and I've also recovered from a back injury, so I have found these methods to be helpful for me. Thought I would pass along the knowledge in case it is helpful for you. So let's get into it. Okay, so there are 3 different progressions that I'm going to show you today. Firstly, we're just going to start off in a supine position on our backs and focus on our breathing. And what we want to do, I'll show you here shortly, but what we want to do when we are breathing is focus more so on breathing into our backs, where we're breathing kind of into our chest and our lower tummy at the same time. Quite often it is one or the other. Some people, they're very heavy chest breathers. Other people, they're very heavy tummy breathers. And when we do this, we lose trunk stability. So when we're breathing into our back, where we aren't seeing too much deviation in our chest and our lower tummy, that's a good indication that we are in a stable, safe position to perform the movement pattern. So what I'm about to show you here with the breathing technique needs to be applied whenever you are doing any type of exercise movement. So let me show you what the progression looks like. So you want to get onto your back, hopefully you guys can hear me, and bring your feet up where you're kind of in a 90-degree angle. You know, even if you can put your feet on the wall, that's going to be a little bit better. So I just have my feet on the couch. You're going to lie down just like this. Take one hand, put it on your chest, other hand, put it on your stomach. You shouldn't be seeing this when you're breathing, and you shouldn't be seeing that when you're breathing. We don't want to see any deviation in our chest and our tummy. So that's why we have our hands here, so we can see and feel that we're breathing more so into our sides. So you're just going to kind of focus on breathing in and breathing out, making sure that nothing is moving. And as you are doing that, you want to make sure that you're keeping your tummy nice and tight. So just pretend that you're bringing your belly button to the back of your back. So once you kind of feel like you got the hang of that, the next thing you want to do is take one foot off of the wall and still apply the same breathing method. Making sure that there's no rising in the belly, no rising in the chest. And then once that one foot feels good, you can switch sides. Make sure that the other side is still feeling the same and there's no deviation at all in your trunk. After you have tried both sides, the challenging part is going to be to take both feet off of the wall, where you still want to maintain that that stableness in your trunk. So that's where it gets a little bit challenging. So it'll look like this. So I've been doing that for a while now, and it is not challenging at all anymore, which is great. The first time I did that, when I took both feet off the wall, I could not stop shaking. So just listen to your body, only do a couple of reps, and or a couple of breaths anyways. If you find that you're too shaky or your lower back starts to come off the ground, put your feet against the wall and then start again, where you take one foot off the wall, the next foot off the wall, and then just try a couple of breaths, and do this every single day. Eventually it'll get to the point where you aren't shaky at all. And if you are very shaky, you know, that's a good indication that your core is weak and you're losing trunk stability during those complicated movement patterns, which we don't want. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys the next exercise that I've been working on, and a lot of you have probably done this before. It's the dead bug. With the dead bug though, I am doing isometric holds versus doing a high rep count. So I only hold one side for about 5 to 10 breaths, and then I will switch to the other side holding 5 to 10 breaths. So the goal with that is the same process with your feet against the wall, the first breathing method that I showed you, where you want to focus on keeping your tummy really tight, breathing through it, where you keep your lower back on the ground and your chest and your belly shouldn't be deviating a lot. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so again, we're going to be in a supine position, making sure that that back is glued to the ground. Tummy nice and tight, and you're going to bring your knees up again, where it's kind of the same position as the first one, where your feet aren't against the wall and your hands are going to go up as well. So it is going to be a contralateral movement pattern, meaning opposite arm, opposite leg, going downwards, where you hold isometrically, come back to the start, Kiara out of the shot, and then you're going to do the other side. I'll show you in a sec. Kiara, can you move? You got to move. Go over here. I know. Okay, so we're up like this, opposite arm, opposite leg, and then you really want to focus on reaching that arm and leg as far as you can without having that lower back come off the ground. There should be none of that. Keep it nice and stable, tummy tight the entire time. Zero movement in this area, okay? I breathe in. So it's hard to maybe see on camera. I'm a little bit shaky. Do as many breaths as you can until you find that your form starts breaking down, and then come back to your starting position. Take a little bit of a rest if you need it, and then switch sides. What side am I doing? This side. So that's the dead bug. Again, do as many breaths as you can. You might only be able to do 1 or 2, and that's totally okay. It's actually very challenging, a lot more challenging than what it looks like. Okay, and the last one is the bird dog, which is basically the dead bug, but you are going to be in a prone position versus a supine position. So this one, it can be very challenging because you're not on your back anymore. You don't have the ground supporting your back to keep your trunk in a neutral position. So it's very easy to see deviations with this movement pattern. So you really need to focus on making sure that your hips aren't moving, your trunk isn't moving whatsoever. Okay, I'll quickly show you what it correctly looks like. So again, you're in a prone position. You're gonna be like this. So it's very similar to the dead bug, except you're in a prone position versus supine. So you wanna make sure that that tummy stays nice and high, very tight, no arching of the back at all. It can be very easy because we're doing this to arch the back like that. So keep it nice and tight. Your joints should be stacked. So wrist, elbow, shoulders, nothing like this, nothing like that, should be stacked and fully extended, okay? Same thing with your hip and your knee joint, should be stacked, making a 90-degree. So when we're doing this movement pattern, same thing, contralateral movement, opposite arm, opposite leg, where you want to fully extend as far as you can when you reach forward, making sure that your trunk stays in the exact same position, and then holding isometrically, and then breathing for about 5 to 10 breaths, as much as you can handle. Okay, I'll show you what it correctly looks like. And then when you come back down, make sure that your hips don't move at all. When they come back down, you should be able to tell that your hips aren't dropping like this when you're coming back down. They should not move at all. Other side. So that's what the bird dog looks like. Again, you just gotta have to play with it a little bit. If you can only hold for a couple of breaths before you notice that your core starts shaking, your trunk is moving, pelvis is starting to tilt, either anterior or posterior. You need to make sure that your trunk doesn't move whatsoever. And then if you do these movement patterns, I do them every single day. Been slacking where I started doing them every single day for the last 2 to 3 weeks. And my squats and hip hinging movements have never felt better. I have zero back pain. And it's not even about having back pain, even just some fatigue in our lower backs. And that's just because we're not utilizing our core correctly to hold us stable in those positions. So I actually have found that my core is pretty tired and fatigued when I do squats or deadlifts, which is a good thing, but it's still an indication that my core is very weak, but it's also an indication that I'm using it correctly during these movement patterns. So that's the biggest thing what we want to focus on. And that's it. I hope that you guys have found that helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or any techniques that you have found to be helpful for yourself, by all means, sharing is caring. Make sure you comment them down below. Let's help each other out to make sure that we avoid any back pain or back issues in 2021. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you found this helpful. I will see you in the next one.